and coming up in this episode.
But unfortunately for me, I got injured. I used the clutches for 6 months. So when I came back, the academy had to drop me. I really believe that Africa needs, young people like us to change whatever it is that's going on, and especially young democracies like that of Nigeria. There's a need for fresh ideas and vibrant young people to come and try to change what we have. And this is advice for everybody, because I had friends too that devoted all the time into football. And at the end of the day, they didn't go to school and they didn't even further with the football.
Wow.
So right now, some of them are like stuck. There's no career.
Yeah.
So I always advise, especially young people, don't always have several dreams. It was challenging, trust me, because that was when I understood the concept of time management, and I started managing my time effectively. Like, there was time for everything.
Yeah.
I was not like that before. I can just fix in anything.
This is something that Germany definitely does to you when it comes to time management. You have to be very effective in that. Yeah.
So,
this is the real life experiences of immigrants in the diaspora. Welcome to the BO podcast. And I am your host, Becky Onyango. And today we have a very special guest who is going to share the experience living abroad. Stay tuned. So, hi everyone, and welcome back to another episode of the BO podcast. I'm your host, Becky Onyango, and thank you so much for tuning in for today's episode. And also remember to like, share, and subscribe to the channel. So without further ado, today we have a very special guest with us, and this is Victor, a very good friend of mine. And thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you so much, Becky. Hi, everybody. Hope you enjoyed this session with Becky today.
Yeah, so he's just going to take us through his journey of moving all the way from Nigeria to Germany as a student and transitioning into the professional German corporate world. And so we get to learn one or two things.
Yeah, sure.
Okay, so let's just start off maybe a little bit about your background, where you come from.
Okay.
And what your education background entails.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so thank you, Becky, and thank you everyone out there for watching this special broadcast from Becky. So basically, like she said, my name is Victor Odimegu. I was born and raised in Nigeria. I'm primarily from the eastern part of Nigeria, but I grew up in the northern part, Kano State precisely. So basically, growing up was a little fun, and I had a lot of good memories growing up. I mean, I came from a very large family. I had we were 8 in the family.
Oh, wow.
So I had 7 brothers and I had one sister.
Oh,
yeah. So I was like the second to the last child.
Okay.
So you can imagine I had brothers that were almost like uncles to me, So
at least you have men in the house to look up to.
Exactly. So discipline was always there.
Paramount, yeah.
My dad or my mom didn't necessarily need to say much before I know what was wrong or what was right.
Yeah,
because
so
I had
your brothers did the job.
Exactly.
Good.
So they did the job, and so growing up was fun for me, and particularly, I wouldn't say I was much of I went to school, and I was much into sports at that time. I played football, and I was really supported by my dad, particularly my late dad. May he so rest in peace.
Yeah, may he rest.
So he bought the idea that I really wanted to play football.
Also, you're really passionate about football when
I
you're
was.
a kid.
I was.
And you're really good at it.
Yes,
then, yeah?
in fact, my dad enrolled me into a football academy.
Really?
Yes, I played.
Wow, that's new for an African parent.
Yeah, exactly.
To support your dreams in football.
Exactly. Anyways, I think for my dad, he had 7 sons.
Okay.
So one going into football was okay for him, you know.
Yeah.
So I played.
Diversify the
Exactly, diversification.
Yeah.
So I played football from secondary school. That was when I was really into football. So I got into a football academy. I also going to school side by side, because after school, I think school closes at 14 o'clock. And then at 16 or 17, I have to go to the field for my training. So it was really fun, and it was memorable, and I started, football, especially when you want to play to that level
Yeah.
of professionalism. There's so many, how do you call it? There's so many discipline also in the game that you have to adhere to. So for me then, I was playing particularly the under 16. So we had like a certain weight you shouldn't go over at that time.
Okay.
So dieting was I'm looking bigger now, right?
Yeah.
So back then dieting was really part of my my discipline, because I realized when I eat too much, I had this tendency to grow big.
Yeah.
So
I didn't know that football actually there's weight limit. Okay.
Yeah, we had age limits, because back then we played under 16 competitions. Okay. So we made sure we didn't. Because in these competitions before the games, every player has to go through the scale, the weight scale.
Wow.
So when you are over, then they can't register you for the competition. Oh, no. So, and your friends would then laugh at you, like you're fat, body shame you, and all these things. So, yeah, so that was.
They should find a better way of doing that.
Yeah,
hopefully
exactly. I really wish they tried to get everybody into the thing, but I think the whole thing just came because of age cheating in football. Some people are over the age and they want to play, so they just make sure that they use the weight to make sure that at least you're on the same. Yes, exactly. Yeah. So that was that for growing up, and much later, after my senior secondary school examination, I went for a competition, another 16 competition, and eventually I got an injury on my knee, and I had to use the clutches for like 6 months. So after my senior secondary school examination, I was determined I was not going to go to the university. That I was going to maybe go to England.
You were set on going for football, like the professional level.
Yes, my dad really supported me. I was already looking for scouts to one of the academies in England. Yeah. But unfortunately for me, I got injured. So when the injury came, I used the clutches for 6 months. And football, when you don't exercise, you gain weight. So when I came back, I was overweight for the competition. So the academy had to drop me. Oh no. So I came back and I was thinking to myself, what next from here? What do I do? Should I go back to school?
That plan.
Yes. Should I go back to school? What exactly should I do? Should I join my dad? Because my dad was a businessman. Like, should I join my dad doing business? And then at that time, some of my friends were already in like 200 level, 300 level in university. So it was a little bit of a big decision for me. So one day I was just going through the newspapers and I saw this certain university, and I walked up to my dad. I was like, Dad, I can't continue with this football. Right now I've seen this school and they had a course, international relations, because I was in secondary school. I had this interest in history, politics, government. Oh, nice. So, and when I hear diplomats, I was like, okay, maybe this is like a cool job, Yeah.
Oh, by the way, spoiler alert, I am aware that you're trying to get into politics at some point.
Yes,
in Nigeria.
Yes.
Yeah, because you're trying to vie for a position.
Yes, okay. I am.
So the plans are still underway.
Of course,
We'll be here to support you.
Of course.
He's a good leader.
I really believe that Africa needs, young people like us to change. Yeah, to change whatever it is that's going on, and especially young democracies like that of Nigeria. There's a need for fresh ideas and vibrant young people to come and try to change what we have. So that's that part. So when I got this school. They had the course that I wanted, and I told my dad, okay, I want to go to the school and make inquiries. I took my wire because I passed the West African exams. I passed very well. So I took the certificate and some of my other secondary school and primary certificates, and I sat down to Delta State, because that's where the school was at that time. And that's like in the southern part of Nigeria. So I got to the school and I said, hey, I'm looking for admission. I went alone. My dad just gave me them because I think then I was like in my 20s, early 20s. Oh, yeah. So
he trusted you enough to go and do everything.
Exactly. So my dad started trusting me from my teen years when I was a teenager. So he gave me the money and I went to the school and they said, okay, you have a good result, but because you don't have JAMB. We have to take you like this what they call foundation,
What
like
is
a
JAM?
Okay, JAM is in Nigeria. Before you get into the school, you have to write the exam. I think it's joint exam something board.
Okay.
It's just for the universities in Nigeria.
Yeah.
So I went for the foundation. They told me when you pass this foundation, then automatically you go to the 200 level. But when you don't pass, then you have to start again from 100 level.
Yeah.
I was like, okay, I'm down. And I called my dad from there. I said, Dad, this is what they told me. And they said, I have to pay this. And my dad said, okay, no problem. Just stay there. Don't come back home again. Start school. I'm going to send you all the money. Pay for your fees, pay for everything. I was like, okay, that's fine. So he sent me the money. I paid for my first tuition.
So you were enrolled?
Yeah, so I was enrolled immediately.
Yeah.
So I started, because this was happening like 2 months and they have to write the exam. And for me, it was like a big decision because having been away from my books for almost 2 years, it was really a big decision for me. But I made up my mind that, hey, Victor, you just have to do this.
Yeah.
You know?
But you would say at that particular point, your heart and your dreams were still to be a professional football player.
Of course.
But you just had to go to school as a backup plan because you have to be realistic in this life. Like,
exactly.
If it doesn't work out, you must always have a plan B.
Exactly.
Okay.
And this is advice for everybody because I had friends too that devoted all the time into football.
Yeah.
And at the end of the day, they didn't go to school and they didn't even further with the football.
Wow.
So right now, some of them are like stuck. You know, there's no career.
Yeah.
So I always advise, especially young people, don't always have several dreams. Just dream. It's free to dream, you know. Just, you know, don't limit yourself, you know, into one field.
Yeah.
You know?
And also another thing I've realized in terms of pursuing your career, in one way or the other, the universe still always leads you back to what you are passionate about.
Exactly.
So even if, for example, in your case, yes, you are passionate about football, but since it didn't work out and you had the backup plan, you decided to go to school, did international relations, later came to Germany, and one way or the other, you do get into the leadership position. You might find a way to influence the sports. Sector in Nigeria. So in a way, you still come back to your dream.
Yeah.
So you have to be a little bit flexible in this case.
I agree with you. I agree with you, Becky, 100%. Because, I mean, when I got into school, I realized that, hey, I can even play football at the level. Like, we had what we call the Nuga Games. So it's like Nigeria University Games.
Yeah.
Like, you have different universities, you have football competition. So I started playing football in the school.
Wow, nice.
You know, because I was good.
Yeah,
you know?
you're good at it.
I was good. And in the northern parts of the country, they have very, like, good football development. Like, when you play ball from the northern part of Nigeria, they are very skillful and, you know. So I got into school. I was focused in my studies. And, I mean, I came just 2 months to the exam. And I passed. I had, like, 11 subjects to do because we have GSTs and the rest of them. And I think I passed all of them. I never had a carryover. And that was because I went with the mentality. My mom had called me and said, Victor, look, we are paying a private tuition for you because it was expensive at that time. You have to do your best.
Yeah.
So I felt pity, you know, and I was like, no, I can't fail them again.
Yeah.
You know, I can't fail them again. So I went to school with everything I had. I gave my best shot. I mean, there were some subjects I didn't like mathematics. I had to, you know, I just had to do it.
You just have to go through
and
it.
pass it, you know. And the truth of the matter is the university system, you know, made me believe that truly nothing is impossible to achieve if you really want to achieve it. So that was what I learned from the university. And
so upon graduation,
yes,
now you went into the Nigerian job market.
Yes.
You worked in Nigeria for some time.
Okay,
And
so I was very lucky then because I finished with the first class honors
nice.
from university. So I mean, when we had our graduation, we had like instant job offers from, there was this indigenous oil firm in Nigeria. So he gave all first class holders automatic employment.
So the schools were the school is the one that was organizing, connecting you guys to the company.
Yes.
That's the good thing about private schools at times.
Exactly.
Right?
So we had like convocations and then they invited some special guests, which like top entrepreneurs, politicians, and the rest. So we had this top entrepreneur, one of the oil firms in Nigeria, and he came then and it was like he's giving all first-class graduates automatic employment, you know, and he actually even followed up because when I had moved back to Abuja, I received this call from the HR in the firm asking me to come to Lagos. They provided the flights and everything, but as at that time, I was really skeptical about going to Lagos because Lagos for me used to be very busy, and I haven't been used to that life. In the north, it's really quiet and slow, but Lagos is too fast. So I asked myself every day, do I really want to live in Lagos? You know, and I delayed that move because I mean, as at that time, I was already working in Abuja part time because we do this national youth service thing. You have to serve the country. So as at that time, NYSC, So while doing NYC, I was working in the bank, Federal Mortgage Bank of Nigeria. So I really loved Abuja. I mean, Abuja is the capital of Nigeria, for those who don't know. I really loved it.
Most people think it's Lagos.
So Abuja is the capital of Nigeria. I really loved it because it was, you know, it was like Kano, you know, because it's in the north also. It's in the north, So it was really cool for me. I made friends, I had families. So going back to Lagos to start from beginning was really not what I wanted. So I had to turn that job down, you know, and I held on to my faith. And luckily as it is, the company or the bank that I was working with as an intern now gave me like a full-time employment. This was like 3 months to the end of my NYC. So they gave me the job and I was chilled. And I worked with them until 2019.
So that was around?
This happened 2014.
Wow, so you worked over
I started early.
6 years, Oh, nice.
I started my career really early. So I started really early, and I think I was till I left. I was the youngest. I was the youngest, and I was still the best. I won several times. You know, the best. You know, in terms of performance and the rest of them.
Nice. So now, after, because I remember when I met you that time, you said you were working in the bank before you came to Germany. So how did you get the piece of information now to make the big move to leave your banking job in Nigeria where you are a really good performer and just say, okay, I'm going to start afresh?
Becky, I tell you, that was the biggest decision of my life. So I got to a point where I was tired of doing the same thing. I was fed up. And I had this colleague, Ezine, she's in Germany right now. So Ezine came to me one time in the office and was like, hey, Victor, what's up? I'm like, fine. She's like, oh, I got this admission in Germany. I really think you should try it out. I was like, oh, Ezine, save me this stress of traveling abroad. You know how much I have to pay? She was like, no, studying in Germany is free. Like, it's free? I'm like, yeah. I was like, okay. And she now introduced me to a consultant, also based in Germany. And sincerely speaking, I just feel it was just my time because everything happened
so smoothly.
So smoothly. It was really easy for me. Like, I got in touch with the guy, he now told me, oh, you have to get your transcript. Luckily, I had all these things available. And I said, okay, I have everything. I said, okay, just send it via post to Lagos and we'll take it up from there. I gave it to him, and in less than 2 months, he had gotten me like 2 admissions.
Wow.
I was like, wow, okay.
So this guy did basically everything and you just had to pay
everything for me. I just paid.
Wow.
Yeah, I just paid for it. And really, I didn't pay with the intention that I was going to get admission. I paid just
to see how it will go.
Yeah, I didn't put my mind there, sincerely speaking. I was like, oh, I beg, just take whatever it is, let it be, you know? And luckily, he got me 2 admissions, one in Berlin and one was Lüneburg.
And so how did you decide on Berlin?
It was, I mean, I've always known Berlin is the capital. From the little research I did, I knew Berlin was capital. And definitely, having lived in the capital in Nigeria, I just knew that sometimes living in the capital comes with lots of opportunities. And, you know, you make some friends from different parts of the world.
And that was definitely the best decision you made.
Right now, it's going to be really difficult to leave Berlin, sincerely speaking, to another city.
Myself, personally, I first came to Berlin because my school was in Berlin. Then I went to work in Stuttgart for like around 2 years. And I came back to Berlin because I was like, Berlin is where everything happens.
Berlin is, I don't know how you say this, Berlin is, you can really get very attached to Berlin,
Yeah.
you know.
And it's very open. You get to meet vibrant
Exactly.
people from different backgrounds. So it's a really good place.
But I love it. I love it here in Berlin. And yeah, so when I met my colleague, she said to me, okay, try it out. And I said, okay, let me just try this out. Because at that time, really, Becky, I was tired.
Yeah.
I was
You just
tired
wanted
of the
to
job,
make
you
a
know.
switch.
Every morning I wake up, I'm like, God, when am I going to leave this job? Because I think maybe because I started it early in my career.
Yeah.
So I felt I had seen it all. You know, I felt that it's like the same routine. Like I have moved in like 3 departments, you know, and, you know, the kind of banking system we operate, I mean, is predominantly mortgage. So there is no room for like an
Advancing
external
your
activity.
career.
You're just within the scope of mortgage. So I just needed more. I was still young, you know. So most of my colleagues, because one thing with banking is you get to a certain age where you're just stuck and you're okay.
Yeah.
You're like, I'm fine with this job,
you get
you know.
complacent
Yeah,
with
so
your
for a
position.
young person, I mean, most of my friends were breaking into multinationals. So that hunger for growth was still there, for you know. And I was like, okay, right now I think the best thing I can do is to go to Germany for my master's. You know, my parents were very happy. In fact, they didn't believe that, I mean, there is a country you could go study for free without paying a dime. And luckily for me, and I got this admission to Berlin.
So talk us through the application process as well as the application for the visa, and what are some of the requirements, and just basically how the experience was up until the time when you came.
Okay, perfect. So when I really, I must say a big thanks to the consultant that handled he's really a professional, you know, and because he saved me a lot of hurdles that I wouldn't have crossed. So when I sent all my documents, he got me the admissions. Immediately, he booked me an appointment. I never even knew that you have to book appointment even before you have an admission. Wow. So he booked the appointment before my admission came. So when admission came, for example, admission came today, and like next week, Friday, I had the appointment date.
And what if your admission didn't come in time?
Then you have to change the date.
Okay, so he was really quick.
He was quick. So that was my saving grace, because this was happening around this time, you know, admissions are open now. So when I applied, I was asked to bring my transcript, notarize my documents, get like an English proficiency from university that I had studied in English.
So you didn't have to do like an IELTS test?
No, I didn't have to do, but I had IELTS because then I was trying to go to Canada.
Okay,
you know this entry.
Oh, so you were trying also to apply for the express entry. Okay.
So I had the general test. I was like, I'm not using this thing for anything. Let me just because I've written so many of them, and because you know IELTS for Canada, you need to get the points. Like 8. So I've written so many 877. So I felt like, why am I wasting my money? Let me just use this and see if this works with this. And I added it to the admission thing. And then I have most of you are familiar with Canada. There's this WES you have to do.
Yes, World Education Services.
So I attached it. I was just attaching everything.
I
was like, let me just give this thing my best. You know, so I attached everything to that.
And I think that's really made it easier for the guy.
It did. Yeah. Because the school, I got admission to Berlin School of Economics and Law. That's one of the very good public schools. In fact, at the time I had enrolled into that school, I think we were only like 3 blacks in the full department. Myself, one guy from Cameroon, and then another girl from Ghana who eventually dropped. You know, the school is really strict, and it has a very good high standard in terms of education.
So she dropped out because
So when you fail an exam in the school, you are given 2 chances to pass. And if you can't pass, then
that's the same exam.
Yes. You have to leave. So I think that's what happened, and then she got another admission.
So now, which course did you enroll for in the Berlin School of Economics?
Okay, so I enrolled for Political Economy of European Integration.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. So it was a new program, and it was we were like the first set for this program, and it's really broad. I mean, from politics to gender discrimination to economics to environmental.
And it's all European studies.
It's all European studies.
Yeah, and that kind of also gives you exposure of how a different continent operates its policies. So that's a really good experience.
It was really good because most of we did a lot of comparative analysis.
Oh, nice.
Policies in Africa, policies in Asia, policies in Europe, Schengen, EU, and the other part of Europe. It was really good, and it was really good and enriching. And for the visa process, like I said, it was really easy. Once I had gotten my admission, the consultant already filled the visa forms for me. He just told me the list of documents to take for my interview. And I got there. Another thing is when you are doing this, so the point here is when you're applying, make sure you give as much documents as possible, right? This is because you have so many other students coming, having even better degrees and better qualifications than you. So you need to stand out and give yourself the best, because most of these schools, they try to select the best. They don't want you to be a liability to them or come and fail an exam.
It's true.
Yeah, so you have to, if you have as much documents as you have, awards.
This is actually one thing that I was sharing the other day with one of my guests is we had this information that one of the students who was trying to apply, actually he got an admission in the university, but unfortunately because he had finished school like around 10 years ago, and during that time, the 10-year period, he was working at a job level that was not really qualified for his qualifications. Like, let's say you have a degree in, let's say, economics, and then you're doing a waitering job in a restaurant. So now what happens is the embassy would question him, okay, during this 10-year period, yes, you've been working as a waiter, but what have you been doing aside from that? And then they actually denied him visa based on that fact, the fact that he's, so it's not even the school itself, because when he did the admission, he did get when he did the application for admission, he got the admission, but unfortunately he was denied visa based on his profile. So it's always important to constantly, seek out ways to build your profile, have awards, as you mentioned, do extra courses on the side. Not only would it give you a higher chance to get admission in one of these schools, but also it gives you a better chance to get the visa, because the visa is usually the big deal.
It's a big deal.
Yeah,
I agree with you.
Yeah.
And on the day I went for my appointment, seeing the queue outside, I just knew it was going to be like they picking from the best.
Yes.
No disrespect to anybody, but whenever you are going for such things, especially Germany, where you have public universities that are free.
Yes.
You have to make sure that, because trust me, you have people, like in my school, I had people from the US, from Asia, better known schools that they attended than most of us in Africa. But what they try to do is, they just give everybody like an opportunity, right? They pick you also based on, because they're also interested in having like an international classroom,
diverse classroom.
So try to be outstanding in terms of the documents that you are giving for this application. And as soon as you get the admission, start to prepare yourself for your visa interview. Okay, don't just walk into the interview without preparing, knowing anything about the course, or knowing one or two things about the module you're going to discuss.
So speaking of that, how was your visa interview like, and what was the preparation?
Like, it was funny, it was really funny, because the thing is, as at that time, so the first admission I got was the one with data analysis with the University of Lüneburg. So that was the first admission I had before the second one came, which was Berlin School of Economics. So I made the last minute change to use the Berlin School of Economics few days to my interview. Because then I was like, everybody was like, data analysis is cool, it's cool. But in my heart, it was not really, you said something earlier. You said it's one thing to follow your dream, and it's one thing to do something because people want you to do it.
Yeah.
Or like, I know I'm not really gonna do too well in data because I don't know too much mathematics.
Yeah.
I was like, I think I should just follow my dream for government. And trust me, it was a good decision, because I shined in that course. Like, I didn't fail any course. I finished on time, and so make sure you do that decision. Just go for a course that you feel really comfortable in. because the type of education we have here is one that you have to communicate. So you will feel daft yourself when you're in a classroom and you can't contribute anything, So you have to make sure that you are at least comfortable with, the program you're going for. Then, for the interview, so mine was really funny because when I got to the interview stage and it got to my turn, I had forgotten the course. Yes.
You had just made a last minute change.
Yes, I made a last minute change, and it was a lot of Lagos was too rushy, and I came there, I was not myself. Everything went too fast. And Lou was like, hi. I was like, hi, what's your name? I told her. Hey, where are you going? I said, I'm going to Berlin. What are you going to do? I'm going to study. What's the name of the school? I said, Berlin School of Economics and Law. I said, okay, what's the name of the course? I said, she now looked like this from
So she's waiting for you to...
She said, what's the name of the course? I know how to tell her politely. I said, sorry, I came a little bit rushy to this appointment, so I'm a little bit,
confused.
She now said, okay, take a look at your admission letter. She gave it back to me. And the thing is, I already researched about this course. Somehow, political economy of European, it was too long.
It's a long name. Yeah, it's a long name.
So somehow it escaped. I don't know. I think because I was nervous.
Yeah.
It's easy. When I think about it, I'm like, oh my God, what happened there, So I forgot about the course, and it was nice. She understood.
Yeah.
And she gave me admission letter. She was like, can you now know the name and say to me? I said, yes. She paused the recording and then started it again. And then I told her...
also, they record your conversation?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Interesting.
They do. Most people don't know, but because those guys you see, they don't take the decision. They have people who take these decisions.
They hire apps.
Yeah,
okay.
they have,
sense.
because they have to justify every approvals they're given.
Yes.
That's what I think they do.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
I know, yeah.
Yeah. So I read it and I told her. She now asked me. Maybe she wanted to know if this guy is really serious about this thing. She now said she needs me to tell her about this course, and then mention 2 modules that will be of interest to me in this course. But luckily for me...
So you had to explain to her why this course is important to you in terms of furthering your career.
Yes, exactly. Why do I like this course?
Okay.
So I now started and I said, hey, I have a background in international relations, and it's always been my field to do this. That back in school, my favorite course was, because we had a course back then in bachelor's degree, political economy.
And
so I now use the political economy to
connect it
I would like to understand the politics.
That was a big point for you.
And that was what got me this win.
Yeah.
And then she further asked me a few questions. And she asked, just like you said, what do you do at the moment? I told her that right now I'm working in the bank. She asked me for my employment letter. I showed her. And she asked me for, again, the block account, very important. So coming to Germany, you have to prove that you have some minimum amount of money saved up in a German bank account. So I had done Fintimba at that time, and I showed her the Fintimba.
At that time, it was around 8K, yeah?
It was around 8K.
Okay.
And usually it's good to go with all these things because it will make your processing really faster.
Yes.
Right? Because I had friends that went late and their visa was delayed for 1 month or so. But when I submitted all of this, and they had also seen that I had a good grade. I made the first class in bachelor's. So they already seen that the grade was really good. And in less than, after I submitted, in less than 2 weeks, I received the email that says, hey, congratulations, you got it, send your passport, blah, blah, blah.
Nice.
So that was when it dawned on me that I'm about to leave the country.
Leave the country, yeah.
And then that's when even I started to think about my decision. Do I really want to leave?
Oh, so now you're starting to...
Yeah, I now got confused at that point.
Oh, no, yeah.
I was like,
well,
do I really need to leave?
Yeah.
Do I need to leave this country? Why am I leaving? And then I prayed. I'm a Christian. So I started to pray. I was asking God to I didn't even tell my parents that time because I didn't want to stress them, because I knew if I tell them, they would say, go. So I just kept it to myself. I was praying.
So by the time you got the visa, and when were you supposed to fly out so that you can start your courses?
Okay, so they didn't give a date. I think it was just going to expire 6 months. They just gave me a 6-month visa.
Okay.
Because, when you're a student from Nigeria, just like, I think there's a way they put multiple entry or something.
Oh yeah. No, normally the first visa they give is like at that time for us our time it used to be 3 months.
Okay.
Just for you to enter the country and then you go and change,
Change
your
it. Okay.
Okay.
So for us it was 6 months then. So I got my visa around July, and school was supposed to resume October.
Okay.
You know, so I had time to think. So I started thinking, making up my mind, and then I decided, I was like, you know what, let me just brace up and take this challenge. I mean, even if it's just to get a master's degree.
Yes.
So what I now did is I walked up to my MD and I said, MD, I got an admission to Germany. I want to make a request for a study leave.
Okay.
And it was approved.
Wow.
So that was because I was not really sure of what I was coming to Germany to do apart from school.
Yeah.
And I got the study leave to come to Germany.
And during a study leave, do you get paid in that bank?
Well,
out of curiosity.
okay, yeah, I mean, it depends. Some people pay 50%. It depends on your company.
Yeah.
Some don't pay, right?
Okay.
For my company, they paid some token. And
But the team, the MD, they were all okay with it.
they were
Besides,
very
it was a worth, like, it's a reason that is worth it because now you want to go further your studies and hopefully you'll come back with better knowledge.
Exactly. And you know, the thing is, that's why wherever you find yourself, just try to be your best because people are always watching you. So my MD has already known that I had been delivering results, you know, so he had no justification to say no to me, you know. So in line with the company policy, because the company has it in the policy that when you work for 4 years, you can go for a study leave. So I made the application for study leave. I eventually decided to come to Germany around September. Yeah,
So
September.
after getting the admission and the visa, you were still contemplating?
Yes, I was contemplating.
Wow.
And this is the first time it happened to me. I've always wanted to travel, but when this one came, I was like,
yeah, I know.
Do
When
I
you want
really need
something,
this?
then it finally comes.
Exactly.
You start doubting.
And the truth of the matter, when I was coming, I came with a few bags.
Also, you're very light when you
Yeah,
travel.
because I was not sure. That's the truth. I came here September. I stayed October, November, December. I went back home. It was that going back. When I came for that 2 months, I said no. I have to just stay here.
Yeah.
So I went home, got my stuffs, everything I needed, and then
back.
came back fully to Germany.
Okay. Nice.
Yeah.
So now, transitioning now into the student life in Germany, how was the experience for you, and how can you compare it with back at home?
Okay, this is a good question, and So the thing is, back then in Nigeria, we were more of analog kind of. I'm sorry to say.
No, but yeah, it is true.
Pardon me.
It
We're a little
is
bit
true.
more of analog, and I came here. I discovered that everything was digitalized.
Digital, yeah.
We didn't we just used just maybe 1 or 2 occasions where I used my pen to write. Like I have my modules already uploaded on the portal. So before the classes, I already have the materials for the classes. You have to prepare slides, and I was not familiar with this. You know, I remember Becky back then. I always called Becky. I said, Becky, teach me how to do slides.
Yeah,
it was so shameful, you know. But
No, but you know what? The same thing happened to me as well.
Yeah.
I actually became really good at slides when I was here.
Yeah.
Because back at home, when it came to presentation, we would actually present in a group of 10. Imagine a group of 10 doing a presentation. So the person who is apparently the good one in making slides and talking in front of the class is the one who gets to do the work. So the rest of us were just there like strongholds to support. So I actually experienced these soft skills more here. So yeah, it totally makes sense.
So so that I think the technology part was the major challenge for me. The intellectual part wasn't a big problem because I knew what I was doing, and in fact, most of the times I was the one who made the discussions for my group here. You know, so don't see yourself as always be free to engage with your colleagues. Because I noticed some people come and they start feeling like inferior, and they feel
inferior.
you know. Don't feel that. Always bring out your ideas. You may know a lot, you know, trust me, you may know a lot.
And then also another thing is when we compare the education system back at home and here, here from a very young age, they're taught how to be
Yeah.
very confident, actually overconfident. They speak out their mind, whether it's right or wrong. The fact that you can express yourself. But I think where we come from, we are taught how to,
Yeah. I mean, it was here that I see that you can actually challenge a professor.
a professor,
And win.
exactly. Yes.
Not just you never can't try it in
No.
my country. You will never graduate from that course. So
You'll always be failing in Africa.
exactly. So we need to have this level of liberalism in our institution. That you're able to do things freely. That young guys or young ladies don't need to compromise just to pass their exams and all this, right? And so for me, like I said, the intellectual part was not a problem. The major problem was the technological part. It was really fast-paced, so I was trying to catch up. It's been a long time because we did more of paperworks, so I had to research papers. I have to make sure that not plagiarism was reduced, so it was difficult for me because it's something, imagine working for 6 years and then coming back to do these researches. I mean, I was used to typing and everything, even though the job that I did then was not essentially more of typing, so to say.
But you were out of school for 6 years, so to come
back
it wasn't and catch easy, up like this, that's
it wasn't
big.
Easy.
So
it wasn't easy.
You.
It was a big decision for me.
Yeah.
But then I had to do it, and the German education system is really, trust me, it's really one of the best in the world, right? Best in the world in the sense that it's not just about, they don't just want you to pass an exam, they want you to know about the program, because I mean, I never had any written exam in university. It was either oral exam or a paperwork. So I found the orals always very engaging, and I think what they were trying to do was try to boost your confidence, make you know how to speak in public, or because you had a set of people sitting and asking you questions and all of that. So aside the technological aspect and the fast-paced, scenario, and that ability to blend back to being a student, it was not easy because I mean back then I couldn't work for like 2 semesters. My first year I couldn't work. It was difficult because I had classes in between.
Back to back.
There were so many assignments to do, and my school was just for 2 years. So I really wanted to finish from that school at that time. So I made sure that I was able to, go through. Thank God COVID came during the I'm sorry. I said thank God.
COVID came with its blessings and its curses.
Yes,
so,
exactly. All due respect to those people who don't share the same
sentiments.
Sentiments like I do, right? So COVID came, and then coming to school was cancelled because my school, you have to come to school. It's compulsory to be in school. You can't miss school 3 times in a week.
Wow.
Yes, if you miss school,
strict,
you're going to be expelled.
Because participation was also like compulsory. Mandatory in the classes.
We were few. It was like a class of 10 or 12 people.
Really?
So when you miss, they know you're not there.
They'll know you're not around.
Yeah. Ooh. So it's not like the usual in Nigeria where we have a hall of 1,000 students.
1,000?
Yeah, there are some public schools that have
1,000.
Yes, you see people even outside. Big. It's a big hall, especially all these GSTs, But here we don't do GSTs. So the classes are like all my classes, we always did like, how do you call it? Group discussions. We just divide the class into 2 or 3, maybe a team of 4 or 3, and then we discuss points, and then we select a speaker to talk about that point. So it was really engaging. I loved it, and it built my confidence. It helped me interact more with people. And so
definitely some soft skills that were very, very important for you. Also in the job once you graduated. But just talk a little bit about your job experience while as a student.
Okay.
Did you manage to work a little bit, like some student job?
Yeah.
How was that?
Yeah, so eventually I got into, like when COVID came, that I was now studying from home, it was flexible for me. So I had to get a student job in one of the logistics company. And I think I was working 40 hours or so.
Wow.
And it was challenging, trust me, because when you go to work and come back, you're tired. So if you're not careful, you miss assignments, deadlines, you miss preparing for presentations, you know. So you really have to be, and that was when I understood the concept of time management, you know, and I started managing my time effectively. Like there was time for everything.
Yeah.
I was not like that before. I can just fix in anything.
This is something that Germany definitely does
Yeah.
to you when it comes to time management. You have to be
Yeah,
very effective
exactly.
in that. Yeah.
So time management became very, very important. Like every 30 minutes of my time, I know what I want to do. There's something always to do.
Yeah.
And then, so I did it like this and did my thesis, submitted, defended my thesis, and then I came out. And then that's when the big question started. What next?
Yes. Yes.
That's always what is in the mind of
Yeah. Now
everybody.
you've already gone through this,
Yeah,
you finished,
exactly.
so now what next?
Yeah. Because the thing is, the moment you start thinking, or the moment you find yourself in Germany as a student studying, the time already starts counting. And before you know, time is really fast here.
Yeah.
And before you know it, it's done. So at that point, trust me, after school, I was just focused on working, you know, doing all this, you know, jobs.
Normal
I
student
never,
jobs,
I never really believed, you know, that I will ever apply for a professional job in Germany. Because when I came, I felt every firm was speaking German.
Yeah.
You know, I never knew how effective, you know, applications like LinkedIn was in this part of the world. So I became so engrossed in just doing my, you know, getting money from my warehouse job.
Yeah, but that's another important point. I feel like back at home in Africa, people don't really take advantage of platforms such as LinkedIn because here headhunters actually do reach out to you.
Yeah, true.
You'd find a lot of inboxes based on your profile because they search according to certain keywords. Yeah. So you'll get a lot of inboxes asking you for job. I mean, where do you get an opportunity where the job is actually looking for you? But yeah, people should learn how to use this kind of platforms as well. And also, we've also created a similar platform. You can also go check us out on selftaughtacademy.org. And this is exactly what we encourage people to do. Just put yourself out there.
Yeah.
So is this how you got like your first job offer through LinkedIn?
Okay, so my first job, so back then, after school, because I discovered that there was this thing for IT. And I asked myself, okay, what aspect of IT can I really cope in? And that's very important. That's always a question you ask yourself in everything you want to do. Can I do it? Is there any aspect of this that I can fit in perfectly? And I discovered product management. So I started doing training in product management. It was really intense for like 8 months. And I paid about, in fact, most of the money I didn't pay tuition to study for a master's degree, but I paid to study for this
Product
program.
management, yeah.
So I started studying for product management and it took me 8 months. And while studying, we had like this career coach where they began to teach us how to structure your resume, how to, you know, fix your LinkedIn. I never had LinkedIn, Becky. Yes, I didn't have LinkedIn.
Wow.
Even if I think it was basically empty. I just put my name, Victor, put where I work, and that was all in Nigeria.
I remember for me, I did have LinkedIn, like a basic structure when I was still in Kenya.
Yeah.
But when I came here, because we used to have a career services department in our school.
Okay.
Our school was also private. And our career services was really active.
Active.
So we used to have seminars. And people used to actually escape the seminars. But for me, I used to attend them because they were very useful.
Yeah.
And they were really insisting on LinkedIn and the kind of keywords that you should put on. Yeah. So that's when you started working on your profile.
I started working on my profile.
Wow.
Like, in fact, that was the favorite part of that product management class because you had this session every week with like the career coach. So the career coach, we always went through my LinkedIn, you know, the keywords, like you said. I had to do like my introduction, basic introduction about myself, what I did, my experience, and what I seek for. You know, and I started seeing. So sometimes when I put on the search button business development, I see lots of English speaking. I'm like, really? So they have jobs in Germany that you can do for. Then I tried. In fact, the truth of the matter is, the job I'm working at now was the first ever professional job I applied for in Germany.
Wow! Congratulations!
It was that weird.
Yeah. So but you see, you actually made the effort to, because I think also there's this tendency of we African students who are here to tend to be in this bubble. And once you start telling each other, professional jobs, it's only German speaking, it's difficult to get into it. And the moment you break out of that mindset and actually go and try it out yourself, and you see how pretty easy it is.
And I agree with you, Becky, because back then, the reason why I didn't try was because I heard a lot of these things.
Yeah, people telling you.
Once, twice, I heard people say, don't listen to these jobs exist, try. So I got aside from the career coach from product management, I got this career coach. She was a Nigerian. She's a HR, and she had 1 or 2 sessions with me, and I said, no, I need to do this thing professionally.
And what did the career coach session entail? Yeah,
it was still part of the same thing. So I did my CV, for example. She introduced me to Flow CV, the Flow CV format. And because she was like a HR, and I used Flow CV to structure my CV, and I send to her, she reviews it, she tells me, okay, change this, change that, then my LinkedIn, I give her access, she tells me, okay, remove, because I used to have this open to work thing on my LinkedIn there, so no, just take it out, so you don't look like, desperate. So she made all those changes on my LinkedIn, and I started applying for jobs. Because this job had taken me, the job that I'm working at now, when I applied for it, then they told me that I have to change my visa from a student visa before I can work for them, right? So, and the fear of every student is, if I change and after probation, I don't pass, what do I do? But I had to just make up my mind. I was like, this is win-win situation for me. So I gave it my best.
I actually remember when we were having these conversations.
You made I was really scared. I was really scared then. I was like, should I do this? What if? What if? So fear comes in the mind in your mind, and when you want to make, such kind of decisions, So first things first is whenever you're moving to a new country. You have to make up your mind on what you want. Don't settle for less. I always tell it to people. Don't settle for less. Don't see yourself working in the warehouse. Don't do that. Always dream big. I made that mistake. If I had started what I'm doing now back then, trust me, I probably would be very far from where I am today. But I encourage people, especially young people, young Africans back home, who are planning to take on this step. Make up your mind, develop yourself, when you come into the country, don't get carried away. So the first 2 years of you being in this country I call it the deciding years for you. It's the years that you should decide what you want in life, right? So this is a fast-paced world, and if you're not careful, there are so many distractions. If you're not, even work is a distraction here. If you're not careful, you can just be distracted, and you won't do the right thing. So I was distracted with work. I was just doing warehouse work because they were paying too, so I was getting money. I felt okay. I was like, there's enough money everybody's getting. But then trust me, now that I'm in this space, the professional space, I tell you, it's the best thing that can happen to anybody.
You get to be creative, and you don't have that stress anymore.
You will also have jobs, professional jobs that are for students, internships, and they still pay well. In fact, internship is the best opportunity for students to break into a company when you work as an intern. So they pay you the student fees, which is sufficient for you to live in Germany and even pay your rent, right? So try to... When you come in and you have this experience from back home, apply for these student jobs. They're all over on LinkedIn. Just put your LinkedIn status and then apply for them, as interns. When you get the job, be your best in your job, but don't forget your school. That's the number one thing. Still go for your school, and after school, you can ask your HR, is there any opportunity for me to come in full time? There are always opportunities here for you to come in, right? So that's the best way for you to break in. And for those who probably have made the mistake of being carried away and working in warehouses, it's still not too late. I realized it after my master's degree.
Actually, bottom line is getting these student jobs like working in the warehouse or whatever mini jobs that you get to do is totally okay for the start. when you're still a student. Like it's just a way to get you by. But of course, you can't do that for
the
in the
rest,
long run. You must have a plan on how you're going to progress career-wise, because also this will be tied to your visa or the residence permit extension. At the end of the day, you still have to look for a job, a professional job in the field that you studied in. Yeah, so it's pretty important in this case. Cool. So you made the choice of, getting a career coach, paying for a course in product management, trying to pivot into the IT sector because you realize that is where the world is headed actually, right? So that was a good decision also in your case. Okay, so now what are the next plans for you? And before we go to that, what are some of the memorable experiences you've had so far in Germany?
Okay, so Germany came with a lot of mixed, experiences, and I'm most grateful for, coming to Germany and then you realize, sometimes abroad it can be really like lonely, especially from Africa, we are very social people back home. So when I came here, it was a big struggle for me, but then I made a few friends and, along the line, we became families. And so, traveling, most especially right now, is part of what I love to do, especially with the kind of visa that we have for Germany. There are more than 12 countries I can travel within Europe for visa free, So these experiences have kind of changed, my perception about life and about, about how I see myself, right? And about what I want for myself, right? So it's always good to take advantage when countries like this, make friends. It doesn't matter the nationality. It mustn't even be your nationality. Make friends, be open to people, don't be too close to yourself because, like I said, it can be boring and, depression is real. So you don't want to be depressed. So make friends when you have time, create time for leisure for yourself, Thank God for some of the Afro pops here. I always go there to listen to.
Yeah, a lot of events and Afro pop events as well that can just represent your culture. But you definitely push for the fact that when you're a student, also immerse yourself into the culture, try to travel as much as you could. And then the best thing about living in Europe is you get that Schengen visa, so you can travel to several countries. Nice. So any parting shot and what are your next steps from now?
So next steps is I keep developing myself. I've stayed in Europe now, in Germany. This is like 5 years or so. So I'm also getting of age. So I want to get married soon, hopefully. And start a family.
So we have a single man
yes.
here, ladies.
So that's where I'm heading right now. To all of you guys watching us today, I'm just gonna encourage you, it's never too late to start something. Whether you're starting or you want to start, just try first things first, get things right. Don't try to dodge corners because to catch up with you in the future. In this part of the world, nothing is hidden.
Everything is
one day they're gonna find out. So try to make the right decisions, have the right documents, make sure you're going for the right course. Don't start what you cannot finish, right? And when you come into the country, be of good behavior, respect the norms of this country. And again, I forgot to say, integration, as much as you can, for those that have not come, try to see if you can start learning to speak German in your country. This will really help you, because it was little bit of struggle for me, because you really can't cope with going to school and then learning language again. It's gonna clash. It's gonna clash, definitely. So if you have the time, or you're planning to come next year or in September, trust me, if you start now, you can have up to A2 before you come in September or October, right? So you can start learning the language, just some little skills to express yourself, right? Because when I came, it was a big problem. I go to supermarkets, I can't express myself, So try to know some of these things. Although Berlin is becoming really open and English is almost widely spoken everywhere, And when you come in, make friends, like I said. travel during your leisure time. If you're a sports person, get into sports. Make friends, right? Because I've seen most people fall into depression because of how lonely,
Yeah,
you know, they stay. So don't keep yourself, don't immerse yourself with loneliness. Always go out, take a walk in the streets, you know, go listen to good music in the evenings. And Berlin is really it's super fun. Trust me.
Yeah.
There's so many things to do in Berlin
Yeah.
when you visit.
When you actually go out there and look
Yeah.
for them yourself. Okay, great. So thank you so much.
Thank you,
We
Becky,
really
for having me.
appreciate all the information that you've been able to share today.
Yes, thank you.
And guys, if you have any questions you'd like to connect with Victor, you can definitely reach out to him on Victor or
Okay, yes. So my LinkedIn. Okay, so my LinkedIn is also the same thing, Victor Odimegu. Yeah,
so Victor Odimegu, you can follow him on LinkedIn if you have any questions. And also you can sign up on our platform, mentorship.selftaughtacademy.org, in order to just connect with some of these amazing professionals, African professionals who are living in the diaspora, so you can learn one or two things. So thank you so much for coming through. We really appreciate it. And guys, up until next time, goodbye.
Goodbye, guys.